This week's video is sort of a continuation of the video I did last week, where I discussed how mainstream studios have abandoned core gamers. My suggestion was to play other games instead of just going on the internet and complaining how gaming is now dead. Now, some of you may have wondered, what are some of those games that you could be playing? Now, I'm not saying this list is for everyone, as we all have different taste. However, if you are a fan of fighting games, I suggest you keep playing Street Fighter. I feel Capcom has done a great job keeping the series fresh, with a roster that has a good amount of new characters, as well as the return of many fan favorites. The mechanic of the game has evolved over time, but they kept what Street Fighter fans love, which is complexity and depth, and some really cool strings and combos. Sure, modern controls do exist for those players who are a bit more casual, or those who have a hard time executing moves, and even I was a bit worried when it was first announced, though this hasn't actually taken away from the game at all. Other games Capcom has released that are also great is the Monster Hunter series and Resident Evil, both classic series in their own right, which I very much enjoy. They have other great series as well, but I wouldn't consider them all core gamer type games. Next we have Vanillaware. Now I know most people think that they aren't really a AAA studio because their games aren't these massive 3D experiences. I charge anyone to find a studio that is making 2D games that look this amazing. I would argue that they make AAA 2D games, but that's a subject for another video. They're rather slow with their releases, but every game from the studio is just a complete joy to play for me, and the graphics always provide a bunch of eye candy. If you enjoy tactical RPGs, play Unicorn Overlord. If you like action games, maybe Muramasa, Dragon Crown, or Odin Spear will scratch that itch. Next is the darling that we've all been ranting and raving about for about the last decade and a half. God, where do I start with FromSoft? Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Elden Ring, Sekiro, Armored Core, but there are also a lot of other fun games, like Ninja Blade, Enchanted Arms, and Metal Wolf Chaos. The FromSoft Love Fest has been done 1,000 times on YouTube, so I won't go too deep into it. However, if you've only played the Souls-like games from the studio, please go on and play Otogi, Kingsfield, or Metal Wolf Chaos. I mean, please play Metal Wolf Chaos. I'm so serious about that game. CD Projekt Red is another darling. They may have fallen a bit from grace after the failed launch of Cyberpunk, but I think they've recovered. The Witcher series is amazing. For those that have never played, or maybe only played Part 3, I advise you to explore the entire series, as they're all very fun for me. Sure, from a technical standpoint, the series does continue to improve between each iteration, but I still believe that those older games are worth playing. Then we have Larian Studios, best known for the release of Baldur's Gate 3, which I shamefully still haven't played. However, it's on my list, when I eventually find the time that is. They're also the makers of a great game series named Divinity, which every Western RPG fan should play. These games are so good. The studio is so good. Please play these games. I want a new Divinity game, so please support the studio. Then lastly, we have id Software. This studio in Midway, now known as NetherRealm Studios, are the reason why I make games today. id Software was once a graphical tech powerhouse that pushed the boundaries of technology, which just so happened to make games. Now they're just a game studio. Sure, it sucks no longer having John Carmack at the helm, pushing things forward in rendering, but I think the studio may be a bit better for it. Id has pushed out a ton of great games after his departure, which I'm unsure that would have seen the light of day if he was still around. Doom Dark Ages looks amazing, and I pray that a new Wolfenstein is cooking as well. Now on to our indie studios and publishers. First up is 3D Realms. Once a major staple in the industry, is now a much smaller player in many ways. They're still making many fantastic first-person shooters. Sure, they're all more retro, boomer shooter style, but I feel that's what many core FPS players want. If you want a Call of Duty or Halo clone, a million of those already exist out there. If you want to play a first-person shooter with a great single-player experience, check out any of their more recent games. Then we have Devolver Digital, who has held down the indie scene for a very long time. They walk the line between casual gamers and core gamers, but that's what makes them so great. They publish games for all audiences. Downwell is amazing, Bleak Sword DX is great, I love Enter the Gungeon, and despite looking similar to Hand Cannon, I must also recommend Gato Roboto for those that love Metroidvanias. Next is Mossmouth, which are the creators of Spelunky, but also the creators of UFO 50. I discussed this game in a previous video, so check it out if you aren't aware of UFO 50. But I mean, come on, 50 games all for the price of one, all with their own styles and unique gameplay gimmicks. We need more studios like this trying something new. Spiderweb Software is my favorite indie RPG studio. These games are definitely not for everyone. They're very dense and really aimed at the hardcore RPG audience. They've been around since I was in diapers, and before probably a lot of you were born. Geneforge, Avernum, and Avedon, probably saying all those names wrong, are all great games. Again, definitely not for everyone. These games are more about substance rather than flashy graphics, and other things that modern gamers have come to see as the norm. But if you want to try something different, or have a love for hardcore RPGs, check them out. Next is Crow Team, and one of my personal favorite first-person shooter series, Serious Sam. I love these games. I've been playing these games since middle school, in the early 2000s, with the release of the first Serious Sam game, and I've been hooked ever since. The graphics to these games are great, and the gameplay is fast and twitchy, and it's just so fun to play co-op with friends. The last studio is extra special for me, because the owner of the studio is also the owner of the website where I started to publish my games. That website is Newgrounds, and that studio is The Behemoth, Alien Hominid, Battle Block Theater, Castle Crashers, and Pit People. All very different games, but also all very fun. They retain their Flash roots with their art style, and all the games keep that Newgrounds sense of humor as well, just a bit more dialed down. As you probably already realize, there are a ton of games in studios that I still haven't named. I'll try to get to some more of those in a future video. Maybe I'll even make a series out of this. But just remember gamers, you don't need AAA acknowledgement to get great games. Support your favorite indie studios. When you do this, more games get to be made, and those studios get to grow. And as they grow, so will their scopes and budgets. That's it for this week, everyone. Thanks for your time, and thanks for watching.